In today's video, we're going to set a foundation for strength. We're going to use the extended platform on the front of the reformer, and we're going to use double loops. I've got the swivel pulleys down, and I'm set on one blue spring. You don't really need to do super heavy because we are going to move the carriage all the way to the back of the reformer or very close to. So you need to get set with your own body positioning when you're doing this, as well as your strength as far as what's correct for you and your machine, because everybody's machine is a little bit different. And also, too, based on your reformer height, with the 18-inch clinical, I know most standards are right around 14 inches, and then we have the ones on the floor. So you'll have to play around with this. If you got the ones on the floor, you might need to see if you can sit the long box on the front somehow so you're a little bit higher. So I'm going to show you, and please modify this according. I'm going to pull in first on this blue, and then I'm going to have a seat. Now, we also have the reformers, which I have, and I'm not going to show you that version, but if you have the Revo bar, you can actually start with the Revo bar out, and you can put your shins behind the Revo bar, and that will also make your range of motion decrease, but it doesn't pull on the springs as much. So you can play around with the positioning of the Revo bar. The 18-inch clinical hits me right at the shin bone below the patella. So obviously, if you have the shorter ones, you're going to start sitting a little bit shorter, a little bit lower. I had to think about that for a second. So if you want to get a little bit higher, you can always put something under, maybe a moon box under your butt. Just make sure it's secure on this extended platform. And if you don't have an extended platform, you're fine. You could just put your sit bones on. So I'm going to go through some basic rowing. We're going to start with regular rows. I'm going to show you 5 reps at each. The transition from standing to sitting is quite enjoyable. I love it because we're using the reformer to help facilitate that lift. So we're going to do one more row. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the arms out, and we're going to press them slightly behind us as we sit up. And then we're going to lower until we're at our shins and then press back for 5. I let that reformer carriage just slowly come to my knees. Like I'm using my knees as that stopper, and I'm really coming nice and controlled to it. 2 more. Last one. Good. Press and keep that press as you slowly sit back, and then going into single arm rows. Now I'm adding a rotation. You do not need to. You can just simply do a single arm row without rotation. So play around with this flow and find what works for you. A couple more each side. And we're also going to give you the option when you're programming this flow. So we're going to do a row as we come forward and then right into triceps. Whether you want to go up and down, like I'm doing up and then down, or you can do all your sitting exercises and then come to bent over, and then finally what we'll end up doing is some standing. Good, all the way down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to roll on our sit bones and back up for 5. Keeping your lats, pecs, and abs engaged, keeping your feet grounded as you roll back as far as you can without your feet popping up, stacking your spine and rolling again. Couple more. You could always put a little grippy pad underneath your butt too if this is uncomfortable on your tailbone, and up. We're going to sit up nice and tall and go into bicep curls. Now hold that bicep curl and up and down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more. Now take your arms out, Going into a standing press for 10 or 5. I would normally do 10 on this. That's probably where my brain went there. But for demo purposes, just you can kind of watch this. I'm taking it down to 5. The rotation, single arm rotation, I will probably do, let's do bicep curls. I'm going to go right now, transition into the short. So forgot my train of thought. So when you're doing certain exercises and you're putting them together when you're using this foundational flow, now I'm going to do single arm row, 5 on the right. Just kind of find out what works best for you. I'm just showing you some of the basics. You'll see more in different flows and some workouts if you're watching the express or the full class workouts. Now I'm going to go ahead and slowly sit halfway back and then presses. We're going to do 5 with your hands face back and 5 with your hands forward. And right into arms face back. Back to standing, and we're going to do alternating bicep curls. So what you can see is there's so much possibilities you can do with this. Sitting bent over, sitting, standing, and then we're going to go ahead and sit nice and low, and we're going to roll back and back up, lifting one leg. So a lot of the short or long box series, when you're doing hands and straps, you can incorporate them onto the extended platform in this manner. Now both up and rows. I'm going to go back to long loops for this one. Really pull abs in. And one more. Now, slowly, we're done with the strap. Lower this down and then come up to standing and go right into legs. So make sure I'm not going to continue on. I just wanted you to see the possibilities because you'll see more in future flows where I'll do legs standing and I'll do switch. I'll do legs standing. I'll do it facing forward, facing in, facing back. And I'll do an entire class here. It's really nice to get these flows. Now, sometimes it's also nice to do some stuff on the carriage, then do some of this flow. There's just so much you can do. I'm going to press all the way out, and I'm going to finish this segment just by showing you how you can build on that with some flexibility. So enjoy the strength portion, going from sitting to bent over to standing. And as I mentioned before, either incorporating them from up and down, which for an athletic class, I like to do it that way because it keeps more metabolic going. So they're not just sitting down, they're not just bent over, and they're not just standing. And it gives the students a little bit more flexibility on what they can do. And I will tell some of them that if they prefer to sit for this or stand for this, it's up to them. So enjoy starting this foundation of this sitting, bent over and standing, and then get creative. As I showed you at the very end, you can go right into some standing work, then hands on the carriage, toes on here. So I'll show you in a future one how we can flow from some strength to some really great core and flexibility using the reformer on the carriage. All right, thanks for watching.